Ja, herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe vom SE Talk. Und ich bin nach wie vor in Vancouver, Oktober 2016. Bei mir heute Gatekeeper Systems. Wir haben die im Juni das erste Mal interviewt. Ganz eine spannende Company, die Aktie hat auch super performt, hat 100% plus gemacht, steht oben jetzt. Also das ist wirklich sehr gute Performance, was sie geliefert haben. Schauen Sie das alte Interview an. Bei mir ist Dyment und er wird uns jetzt erzählen, was die letzten 4 Monate so getan hat. Doug, thank you for your time again. The last interview what we're doing was in June, and since then it was a perfect timing for also our last interview. The share price going up 100%, stay on a high level is very unusual. So what's happened in the last 4 months since we see us the last time? You're coming out with revenues numbers.
Yeah, since the last time that we spoke, I explained the vision of the company and some of the markets that we're engaged in, where the revenue is coming from. Certainly what the vision of the company is, and how we're executing on our plan. We've certainly since the last time we spoke, we've continued to execute. We've seen our core market, which includes transition of our, on the technology side, transition from analog cameras and systems to high definition, as well as we have some unique wireless features which allow our customers to manage the video that they record on our systems a little easier than our competitors. We've seen an increase in the size of some of those projects, and we've executed on those. And we continue to push forward in our stop arm camera business, which here in North America, unlike some other countries around the world, it's certainly a big problem here in North America. And I think I would have mentioned back in June that that laws have been passed, new legislation passed, certainly in 13 states in the U.S. that allow authorities to use video from a school bus video system, such as Gatekeepers, as evidence to issue a citation. And Gatekeeper has been engaged in that market for a few years now. It's taking time to execute on some of the projects that we have. We're now up to, well, as of our last, or one of our press releases back in the summer, we had about 21 demonstration sites, and now we've been successful in landing 2 of the projects that are 5-year contracts that have been released to the public, and we continue to build that portion of the business. So that's on the stop arm camera side. Given that there's 550,000 yellow school buses in North America, and legislation has only passed in 13 states, I see that as a new big market that's growing in a marketplace that we're already engaged in, putting systems on the inside of school buses. All right, so very excited about that as far as medium and long-term growth for Gatekeeper. And then there's the law enforcement side of the business that is going to grow, putting video systems on inside of law enforcement vehicles, as well as a new growth area in body cameras. But the majority of revenue for Gatekeeper in this last fiscal year has come from our base business, protecting children, in and around school buses, some transit deals that we've won, and a little bit of law enforcement. No revenue really in last year's fiscal, which was August 31st, 2016, came from the stop arm camera business as far as that, those financials. But this year we see that changing.
Okay,
right?
That was my next question. So, okay, the last year was driven by this kind of business, so that's mean also maybe the next year will driven by the other business.
Yeah, I think you're going to start to see, some of our other verticals that we're focused on, start to deliver revenue, such as the stop arm camera business, the in-car video systems for law enforcement, and we also expect some more transit type deals. And there's a number of reasons that that those markets are growing, and so we see some more revenue coming from some of these other marketplaces that we didn't show a lot of revenue last year.
Do you coming out with some guidance, or what do you expect for this year on revenues?
Well, we don't typically project to the public markets, what the segment, what the video, or what the revenue is in each segment. Mm-hmm. It's really lumped in. It's really lumped into. It's really lumped into. One common revenue theme, which is mobile video, right? And mobile video, unlike fixed site surveillance, technology is really any area that moves, such as law enforcement vehicles, public transit, school buses, body cameras, those sorts of things, or law enforcement.
But in general, what is your guidance that you think our revenue can be this year, or we are planning a revenue increase of 10, 15?
Yeah, it's just it's a projected number. So last year I felt like we would be in the range of somewhere between 8 and 12 million in revenue, which would have been up from about 5.9 the year before and 3.8 the year before that. And if you go back and look at our press releases, and I've been trying to educate the capital market. The capital markets by letting them know by reporting what projects we've actually completed on. Mm-hmm. So if you go back and you look at our third quarter numbers and you add the number of projects that we completed on in the fourth quarter, which we did report, you'll see that we're in the range of between 9 and 10 million in revenue. I can't talk about the profitability or where we're there because we're still going through the audit, but it's definitely, the fourth quarter was set up as a very nice quarter for Gatekeeper. The third quarter was strong profitability, and the second quarter was slightly profitable. The first quarter was a loss. But we had, there's reasons for that. It's traditionally our slowest quarter, but we also, we're trimming expenses in the company, and our goal is to try to build quarter to quarter profitability in this company, even though we are a developing company. We want to minimize dilution in this at Gatekeeper. Right now, there's about 63 million shares outstanding. And our working capital is very healthy for a company our size. We've put the necessary facility and terms in place with our suppliers to help us move product out as we get these spikes in sales. So we're very comfortable with that. The revenue, hopefully the revenue this year will increase from last year, and so will the profitability. Those are our goals. As far as where we land, a company like us that is adding the capability that we have, man, it's I got to be honest with you, it's difficult to project, because if we're successful in some of the projects, you could see some significant growth there, but it is a difficult number to project.
For my better understanding, is the revenue what you generate only new business, or coming out also from licensing business, or that the people pay or need your system and pay a yearly fee for that, so that you have steady increase of service components?
Yeah, so let me speak to that. So we Gatekeeper Systems, the majority of our revenue at the moment comes from our hardware with bundled software. Yeah. All right, and then we take down
that you get the paid for them, and
we get paid up front from that. Yeah. So where I'd like to take the company in the future here is to have a portion of our business start to transition to recurring revenue. Mm-hmm. So if you look at our stop arm camera business, we have a number of business models that we are engaged in. Obviously, the most popular one is for Gatekeeper to provide the equipment free of charge to the school district and then share in the revenue with the school district and the county or the city, right? And our standard contract is we'll take 50% of that revenue and then share 25% with the school district and 25% with the county or the city. And depending on the services that are required by all parties, we may adjust those numbers. But our traditional deal is our contract is a 5-year contract with an automatic renewal of another 5 years. So we have other models as well, business models, where we can license the software or we can sell the equipment out as a standalone.
I like these revenue deals. There's for example, there's a very popular company in Germany, SAP, that's a multi-billion-dollar company and make enterprise software for companies. SAP.
Right.
So, and a lot of their revenues coming from existing clients and their revenue streams, like they have a kind license model or the yearly fee, but they must pay for their software. And this is kind of what you have when you say, okay, you have a revenue stream or shares deal. It's exactly what this is, that you get a portion of the revenues what you generate, and for sure you give the hardware then for free. Then that's your part of the deal.
Yeah, so those are the numbers, but let's talk just quickly about the problem.
Absolutely.
So we have children that are being either killed or near misses in and around school buses every day, and not just in school buses, but also in and around school zones. So I see this as a growing area now that the technology is available and the systems are available to help deter this bad behavior from happening. And the legislation being passed actually is the teeth in behind it to entice school districts and cities and counties to get behind and start to put these programs in place. Now, there'll be reductions in the bad behavior, the bad driving behavior. But if you look at the amount of time, and by the way, I've been in this market since 1992 with a previous company, so I've been in the school market a long time to be able to see the ups and downs and of these violations that go on, and they've been there for quite some time. So just like speeding, when you put enforcement in place, the bad behavior will go down, but it always comes back up to the normal level. So we're looking at independent studies show between 13 and 15 million incidents happen every year, regardless of the video enforcement. Then you look at the counties and the cities struggling with monies because of a lack of resources and law enforcement. And keep in mind that in every state and every province, it's illegal to pass a school bus when a stop arm is engaged. Even you look at some of the cities like Toronto, for an example. They've got trains that are carrying individuals that are driving down that are operating in the middle of the streets, and you're not allowed to pass those buses those trains when they're stopped. They don't have enforcement yet, but I envision one day that they will come, because there is a dangerous situation when people are boarding and getting on and off those trains. So I see that area, definitely growing, and I just think that with violated funded programs, so the taxpayers aren't obligated to buy this equipment, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
And the payback can be fairly quickly, even at a half an incident a day per bus, depending on what the fine is in the state. So if you're an average fine of, say, $300, Gatekeeper takes 50% of that. You can see that at $2,000 or $3,000 a system per vehicle, we can have a payback fairly quickly, over a small fleet.
One question: we have now in the US the election. Do you think that has this impact on your system if one of the parties coming in power, or is that a general business where everybody has the interest that the accidents and the school's safety is going forward?
I don't think that I'm not naive enough to think that election results are not going to have an impact on some businesses. But I think that, if you look at the candidates, that are running in the U.S., I don't think that any of those candidates are going to support a program that doesn't protect children from being killed. And that's what's happened. If you would have seen, I don't know if you've seen just recent news out of Ontario as an example. Yesterday there was a child that was just about hit by a passing bus or a passing vehicle, running by a school bus. So these things happen every day, so I don't see any election results changing that. I think that there has been some comparisons with red light cameras and the negativity with that and stop arm cameras. But once you start to analyze the fact that that school bus stop arm cameras are being used to try to deter bad behavior and protect children, it's a completely different it's a completely different emotional buy-in than a red light camera. So I just think that, and by the way, I mean, that's only one part of our business. Yes, it's got potential upside and potential growth, but it's only one part of our of Gatekeeper's business. It just happens to be a significant upside. But I want your readers and your viewers to understand that Gatekeeper has a base business that's transitioning to high definition that is really starting to grow as well. And that's where we've seen the majority of the growth last year and put a big focus on getting that done.
No, and I think, and this is a perfect example what you told us before. The year before was 3.8. The year before, so 3.8.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
2 years ago, 3.8, then 5.8, and now coming up to 9 to 10 million. So for the past year. So and this year hopefully will increase again. So you see, or my viewers see, that a nice uptrend on the revenue, and also that for sure also then from the profitability.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we want to grow. We want to grow Gatekeeper, be fiscally responsible. We want to grow by keeping our company profitable. If we have to go back to the capital markets for any kind of raise, we want to make sure that we do that. There could be an event that causes that to happen, but we're certainly not. My plan is not to dilute down at these levels. Even though we've seen an increase in our stock price, we still feel that we're undervalued, right? And given everything that's going on in the company, so. Like I said, we want to grow that top line at a rate where we can handle the growth, and we want to make sure that we're profitable all along the way. And I think that, in today's tech environment, that's an attractive investment for
Absolutely.
People, right?
Absolutely.
So that's the goal. And I can't talk about the bottom line numbers in the fourth quarter, but I think if you go back and you analyze what information has been made available to the public, you'll see that this last fiscal year is a record year for Gatekeeper, and we want to continue that growth of profitability quarter to quarter. You may see some quarters offside a little bit on the profitability side depending on when the deals land, but certainly for the majority of the quarters we want to make sure that we are profitable and that we're managing our cash flow appropriately.
Doug, I think this was a great update. Next time I come in January, hopefully we have time to sit down and see what's really the final numbers are, and hopefully we can say then more about the year, the new year was running. Ja, war ein gutes Update. Schauen Sie nur mal das erste Interview an, dann wissen Sie eigentlich genau, um was es geht. Der Umsatzwachstum ist super. Er hat sogar gesagt, auch von der Profitabilität schaut sehr gut aus. Für dieses Jahr wollen sie natürlich weiter wachsen. Er hat sich nicht unbedingt ausgelassen, wie viel er wachsen will, aber es schaut sehr gut aus, und er will generell natürlich jedes Quartal einen Profit zeigen, auch wenn er sagt, okay, es könnte mal Fluktuationen sein. Wahlen haben nicht unbedingt einen Einfluss auf ihn, weil es nicht großartig etwas ändert dran und so. Jeder dieser Kandidaten ist daran interessiert, dass die Sicherheit der Kinder eigentlich am Schulweg und so weiter und am Schulbusbereich gewährleistet ist. Aber das ist nur ein Teil ihres Business. Einer Brot- und Buttergeschäft, sage ich mal so, das wird gerade umgestellt von analog auf digital, da machen sie auch dementsprechend Umsätze. Sie arbeiten auch an Revenue-Sharing-Modelle, also wo sie eigentlich einen Teil des Umsatzes bekommen, dafür das Equipment nicht bezahlt kriegen, dadurch wird natürlich der Umsatz dann wesentlich stabiler. Also es sind interessante Sachen dran und er sagt ja selber, es könnte natürlich sein, dass sie irgendwann früher oder später mal wieder am Kapitalmarkt zurückgreifen, wenn es einen gewissen Events gibt. Das kann von mir nur diverse Übernahmen sein, aber sicher nicht zu den Preisen. Sie glauben nach wie vor, dass sie auch bei diesen Preisen deutlich unterbewertet sind. Ja, das war's von Gatekeeper Oktober 2016 Kanada. Tschüss und Baba.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. God, I wish